Hello and happy Thursday. Good afternoon, good morning, good night, I guess, depending on where you are in the world today. If I have not met you before, my name is Lori and I am a business coach and entrepreneur who helps aspiring digital nomads and entrepreneurs to build profitable remote-based businesses that give them the freedom of time and location that they're looking for and allow them to hit 5 figures in their business within 12 months or less. Today, I am joined by Cheri Timko, who is a couples relationship coach who teaches couples how to use simple habits to build their relationships so that their relationship continues to grow even when they're putting their energy towards other goals. She has been a psychotherapist specializing in couples counseling for almost 20 years. She has also been married for over 20 years, has 3 teenage daughters, and has homeschooled for the last 7. Wow. That's amazing. If you guys are watching, whether you're live or in the replay, do make sure to just say hi. Let us know where in the world you are coming from. I know I love to see that, and I'm sure that Cheri does too. But Cheri, if you could just introduce yourself a little more, tell us a little bit more about your story, and then we'll just kind of dive in a little bit.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Every time I hear that, it sounds like, wow, that is so much stuff. But I think that a lot of us have a lot of these different hats that we wear, just are very busy to get to where we want to go.
That is an understatement, is it not? You work with obviously a lot of couples, and when it comes to entrepreneurship specifically, I'm hoping we can talk a little bit about, just in your experience and your knowledge, is some habits that can help people to really keep their relationship going and keep it top tier. That will help them, because I know as an entrepreneur myself, this is a struggle. Like, my husband is supporting of my goals and my dreams, but it takes work. So can you talk a bit about those habits, what they are, and how people can, start implementing them in their own lives?
Yeah, I love talking about the relationship habits because it is so simple to make a change in your relationship. And people, I think that we all just kind of underestimate the power of them. So, a relationship habit is something that happens usually every day that is a touch point between you and your partner. Usually they're very small things, although they can be a little bit more lengthy, but they're things that happen every day. And they're things that when they don't happen, one or both of you are like, you missed that. Where were you? Now, they're things like saying good morning, saying goodbye when one of you is leaving the house, having a way of connecting when you come back to the house, spending some time talking to each other in the evening to just catch up, or saying good night. Now, you don't need all of those. You need a few touch points that matter to you or matter a lot to your partner.
That makes total sense. So how do you recommend that people actually figure out what those are?
Well, probably they already have some, or they have some that they have tried in the past and they just kind of fell off. So you're looking for the things that kind of are easy to slip in or easy to make happen. And if there's something that you do part of the time, then making that an everyday habit will be fairly easy. Now, the reason that you do it
Okay.
every day is not so that every single day is this magical connecting point. You do it every day because if you have to create space on your schedule and you have to think about how to get that connection in, then it takes so much energy that you're probably not going to do it most of the time. If your habit is that at the end of the night, you're going to have a few minutes of maybe cuddling or giving a real kiss or snuggling before you fall asleep, if that is what your habit is, it doesn't mean that every day is going to be spectacular. But if you connect in a meaningful way a couple of times a week, then at the end of the year, you have 50 or 100 of these connection points that then keep the relationship kind of stable and building in the background. It's when we have to think about these things that they don't happen.
Yes. That's amazing. And that's something, honestly, again, that I hadn't necessarily thought of, but I know, a challenge that I face because my so busy, and my husband, who himself been an entrepreneur, doesn't necessarily always understand, well, why can't you make time for this or that or the other thing? But like you said, if it just, you can make it kind of happen on repeat, and that automation, right, to be able to run effortlessly. So what are some of the kind of problems that you see, couples facing the most often when one or both of them is an entrepreneur? And, I guess then we can talk about how we overcome them. But what are some of those, common issues that you're seeing?
Well, when I know this for myself, if I know that I'm going to have my husband's undivided attention for 10 minutes at 10 o'clock every night, a lot of times that will ease that pressure throughout the rest of the day. Now, ideally, you would have a few of these touch points. You wouldn't just have one, but you would have maybe, let's say 3 to 5 that you would have that happen every day. And they're just these tiny touch points. And if you have those, then your spouse is much more at ease knowing that they're going to have that time and attention. They aren't going to have to fight for it.
Yeah. So it's just, part of your day. Now, curious, if you don't mind me asking, when it comes to you and your business, obviously you said you're married. Is your spouse, supportive of your business, and what's that been like for you?
Well, I'll tell you the whole thing since he's not going to watch this video. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and it's had different phases. He was the one who encouraged me to set up my business to begin with, the first one and the second one. So he is supportive. He's very happy that I'm gainfully employed, and he loves that I am excited about what I'm doing. But we have this ongoing discussion because I have never impressed him. Now, I am an impressive person. Like, I don't mean to.
No, you are.
I know that I can be a powerhouse when I really put my mind to it. So our ongoing discussion is, what would I have to do for him to be impressed? How much money would I have to bring in? How many podcasts would I have to be on? How big would the podcast have to be? And he keeps saying, it's not that. I can't give you a number. And I'm like, no, we're going to get to a number and you are going to be impressed by me. But we have never hit that to this point, 20 years in. So I don't know, maybe it's my mindset stuff, but it always runs in the back of my mind that he kind of just accepts that I do a lot of this stuff, but he never sits back and is like, wow, my wife is running 2 businesses, or wow, she's done all these media things. And I don't know why I need that. Maybe I shouldn't need that, but there's something about your spouse being proud of you that feels really good.
Yeah, you're right. And my husband doesn't watch these either, so I can be bluntly honest. So, again, yes, he is supportive, but I don't think sometimes they recognize, what all goes into running our own businesses. And, just like you, like, not to toot my own horn, but I think I am pretty impressive, and I've got a lot going on and run, several businesses. And it is important to have that approval, I think, of our spouse. So even if they're supportive, being able to hear that. So any men that are watching, or not just spouses who aren't the business owner watching, to know that is important to give that feedback, because like you said, I don't know why I need that. Like, I know that I'm impressive, right? I know that I'm doing something good, but it's our best friend, and the person that we've chosen to spend our life with, I think. So we really like to have that sense of approval, like, hey, I'm proud of you. Like, you are doing awesome. So
I will expand on what you just said, because appreciation is a great relationship habit, like very, very powerful. Okay. Now, my husband does a lot of stuff to support my ability to run these businesses.
mm-hmm,
And so it is equally important as the
mm-hmm,
entrepreneur for me to take that time and say, hey, I really appreciate that. I couldn't do this if you weren't taking care of these other things that allow me to do that.
yeah,
So that is another great relationship habit, is to once a day find something very specific that you noticed and show appreciation for it. And that part about noticing matters so much. Our partners want to know that they have our attention. They want to know that they matter. So when we find that thing that, hey, I noticed that you took care of this. Hey, I
yeah,
noticed that I I never have to think about this because I know you
yeah.
do that. That matters so much.
That's a great point. And I will say that some days I probably would not eat if it were not for my husband. Because he does now, like, I used to do a lot more of the cooking, but these days he does like probably 98% of the cooking. And I try to appreciate him, but just that approach that you just gave there, I think is a great way, because I'll say, oh, thank you, it was good or whatever, but just actually recognizing, like, I appreciate what you do for us and for me, is such a big thing. And Zadie, hey there, she just jumped in and said, yes, it does make a difference. And it so does. I think because we like to hear it, but we have to remember to give that same feedback to our spouses that are supporting us, because I think I'm probably not alone in that. If you're an entrepreneur, that your spouse is probably picking up some of the slack in other areas of your life to make that possible, right?
Right, right. So you asked about the problems that I see in couples who have
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. It is very hard for us as entrepreneurs to set some limits around our work. And that is something we have it in the back of our mind that because because everything rests on us,
Mm-hmm.
because how much we show up makes a difference in how much we get seen by the world. We
Yeah.
get into the habit of saying, oh, but let me just do one more thing. Let me just send out one more message or go live one more time, or let me just do one more thing. And we really don't operate well at that level, and our relationships start to suffer. So
Mm-hmm.
even if you work 60 hours a week, if you have 2 hours and you are committed to spending that with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
that 2 hours, like, that's going to mean the world to your relationship. And you continuing to build that relationship, because what good is our business if we get to that pinnacle of success and then our relationship falls apart and our kids won't talk to us because they don't know us? So then what's the point?
Yeah, that's so true. And we have a question here actually from Mandra. He asked if we can talk about specific when both of the partners in the relationship are business partners as well. Have you seen that in any of your couples?
I have. The biggest mistake that couples make when they're both working in the same business is to have no boundaries between what is work time and what is home time. Now, that can also play out when they're entrepreneurs in different businesses.
Okay.
But I've seen couples really self-destruct by not being able to say, all right, we're done with work. We need to stop talking about this. We need to think about the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Another problem that couples who both work in a business is that sometimes, or I don't know how often, but a lot of times maybe, they will specialize in different roles in the business, and then they don't feel very connected to the other parts of the business. And it either
Okay.
feels like too much weight for one of them, or that they're like, they have to make all the decisions and they're not getting enough feedback,
Mm-hmm,
or
mm-hmm.
it feels like they're completely cut out of a piece of it and they don't have any voice in that part of it.
That makes sense. Yeah, that is tough. So for those people that do choose to own a business with their partners, what advice would you give them when starting out to set themselves up to succeed?
All right, so if they're both part of the business, um, I would separate home and work, where like these are our work hours. This is what we do during this time. And then also, this is what home is going to look like. And these are the things that we do for fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of couples, not just entrepreneurial couples, but the first thing that drops out when they get busy are the fun things. And when you
Yeah.
think about that, like logically, that doesn't make any sense. So if a couple's going to work in a business, having a day that is a business free day, or
Okay.
having an activity that they're going to make sure to continue in.
Yeah, that's great advice. And Zadie commented here and just said she also had to tackle something spouse, but a close friend that started a business with, and that separation of the boundary of work and friend time. I mean, I would say it's probably pretty similar as it is with spouse when you're starting a business with a close friend, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And um, there's a lot of advice out there that says don't go into business with your best friend, or don't run a business with your spouse. And I have
Mm-hmm.
seen couples, and I have seen friends who do that really well. But I think you
Mm-hmm.
really have to know how well you're going to manage that, how well you're going to be able to deal with a crisis at work, and then be able to put that down and come home. Um, I I'm thinking of a couple I was working with recently, and they had personnel issues at work, and it spilled over to home in the most horrible ways of feeling unheard and unsupported, and it just really took such a toll on their relationship that they ended up separated at some point. And I think that's a common story, that if you can't say, all right, yes, you may have really screwed up at work, but I actually like you at home. And that's okay for that to feel split that way.
Yeah. Yeah, that's um again my husband, just using my own example, and I like the business right now, he's not involved in, but we have had other businesses that we've started in the past where we did work together in certain areas, and it was really tough, I think, for us to separate that, and it made it the business when it started, it was super exciting and fun. But it made it get to that point where it was just like, okay, it's stressful, or like I'm nagging about the marketing, he's building and designing furniture. And it puts a strain on the relationship. I don't know that I could actually have any closer tie in that to business and how we would do together, because it would be so tough, I think, to really separate that. And kudos to people that can do it, for sure. And to people who can do that with friends as well. I have had businesses with friends, and well, most of them I am no longer friends with, because it did not end well, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great example, because you also have, like, if you're not on the same page about the priorities, then there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of push and pull back and forth about, this is what I think is important for you to be working on right now, versus here's your stuff and here's my stuff and here's where it overlaps. And I'm going to trust that you're going to do your part. and you'll bring problems to me, and I will try. You can trust that I'll do my part, and I'll bring problems to you. But it's just you can get into the details and get really tripped up easily.
Agreed. So this has been like some just amazing gems here for my entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial couples out there, because again, I know that this is something in my own life that, I don't talk about a lot, but it is definitely a struggle. And I think it is for a lot of people in our audience. So I'm really glad that we have been able to actually be open and honest about this and have this conversation, because I think it's something that a lot of people maybe are a little afraid to talk about, or think maybe they're alone in this, like, well, I see other people doing just fine, we must be doing something wrong. So I think it's really great to be able to just have this. This is definitely something I'm going to reference probably to some of my clients as well, because I know a lot of them face a very similar thing. So just here. With that said, if people want to connect with you, either, to talk about just how they can work with you, or just to learn more about what you do, and, how to work with their spouse or their partners, how do they connect with you?
Probably the most straightforward way to reach me is at my website, which is cheritimko.com. You also can find me on Instagram and on Facebook. Probably my favorite thing that I'm doing right now, where I spend a lot of time, is I have a Facebook group that is dedicated to helping couples spend more time together. And that is Date Night Community. It's just that encouragement and inspiration about spending more time with your partner. And it doesn't mean spending all your time with your partner. It's really about dedicating a little bit of time every week to your relationship so that it continues to grow.
So very true. And I don't actually have the link in here for that. So Date Night Community is the name of the Facebook group, right?
Yes.
Okay. I will drop a link in the comments on the recording. So if you're watching live, come back and look at that, and we will give you that link. And yeah, we had some good feedback here, and Zadie said she'd love to see you back here for another session, so we can work that out, I'm sure, Zadie.
I love that. This has been so great to talk to you today.
Yeah, this has been amazing. So thank you so much, Cheri, for tuning in, and thank you everyone else for watching. Again, if you are watching in the replay, let us know. And if you have questions, we will make sure that we get those to Cheri. And you can also catch up with her again on social media or on her website. And this has just been amazing. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs, in your business as a whole, you maybe having connection issues here. So hopefully people can actually see what I'm saying. Sorry, I think my internet just dropped for a second. But again, if you are having trouble in your business, reach out to us. And if you are doing good in your business, but having trouble in your relationship, reach out to Cheri. So have a wonderful day, everybody. And thank you, Cheri, again for being here.
Thank you.